So Rockstar Games are no strangers to lawsuits. Over the years, many people have tried to take Rockstar Games to court. And in this video, we're going to go through 5 of the occasions where people have tried to sue Rockstar Games. But before we get into today's video, if you do enjoy the video at any point, please consider liking, subscribing, or leaving a comment down below. So the first case we're going to talk about is that one time that Lindsay Lohan tried to sue Rockstar Games. American actress Lindsay Lohan alleged that Rockstar had used her likeness without consent and thus was seeking damages. She claimed that the female depicted on the cover art of GTA 5 was a dead ringer for her, and Rockstar had, unbeknownst to her, used her likeness for the cover of the game. Of course, Lindsay Lohan lost this case as there was a million reasons for it to not have been her, including the pose being very different, and the only thing that was similar was the hair colour and the swimsuit. Next is Jack Thompson. Now, there's a lot of information about this online, and I recommend after this video going to Google some of it and reading about it. This was one of the most interesting court cases in the whole of the video game industry. In the early 2000s, Jack Thompson was one of the most critical voices when it came to violence in video games. Thompson had been a strong proponent of the anti-GTA and anti-video game sentiment, and was hard at work with his activism against video games. However, video games weren't his only enemy, as he also targeted rap music, radio hosts, and several other aspects of modern media. He has a long, drawn-out history with Take-Two and Rockstar regarding the content of GTA games. He filed a suit in several states alleging that the GTA franchise is responsible for violence and murder in the country. The case was thrown out in many states, yet Jack Thompson is still pretty active against his campaign against video games. During Thompson's escapades against Rockstar Games, the reason why the case was actually thrown out in many states across the US was due to his behaviour on these cases. He was quoting as calling Grand Theft Auto a murder simulator, harassing Rockstar Games employees, and also falsifying evidence against Rockstar Games. Now, during his efforts to sue Rockstar Games, he was eventually disbarred in 2008 after he was found guilty of misconduct in the case against Rockstar Games. And to this day, Jack Thompson remains an outspoken critic of the video game industry, albeit he hasn't tried to take Rockstar Games to court, but he's still waffling on about how video games cause violence. Before we get onto lawsuit number 3, there's 2 more things I'd like to mention in this video. Number 1, the PlayStation 5 winner giveaway was already announced. I announced that on the 22nd of December, so if you go to my video that came out on the 22nd of December about voice actors, you'll find the winner for that. I'm getting a lot of comments from my older videos saying that the PlayStation 5 winner was never announced, and it was announced. It's just that you're commenting a month after the video came out, so please go back to my video on the 22nd of December to find out who the winner was. The winner has claimed their prize and it's all been sent out in the post. The next thing I want to mention is that from now on, I won't be doing giveaways on YouTube. I'll be doing them on Instagram, but also I'll be announcing them within my Discord. Both of those are linked in the pinned comment for this video. The main reason I'm not doing giveaways on YouTube now is because as soon as I announced the winner for the competition, I lost about 200 subscribers. I've realized that doing giveaways on YouTube doesn't really make any sense because people only subscribe to win the PlayStation. I'd rather people just subscribe because they like the content. Because at the end of the day, if I post a video and loads of people receive notifications that a new video is up, but they don't click on it because they only wanted to win the PlayStation 5, it doesn't really help my videos in the algorithm. So for a business decision, it doesn't make sense to do the giveaways on YouTube, but it makes sense to do them externally. So I don't know when my next giveaway will be, but it will probably be done on my Instagram. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Now, let's get on to lawsuit number 3. Lawsuit number 3. A convict blames Grand Theft Auto for putting him in prison. One of the most bizarre cases brought against Rockstar Games and Take-Two Interactive was a former federal prisoner, Jonathan Lee Riches, claiming that Grand Theft Auto was responsible for putting him in jail. The case he presented claimed defendants contributed to plaintiff committing identity theft. The defendant's games show sex, drugs, and violence, which offends me. Riches then continued, defendants put me in prison. I face imminent danger from violent inmates who played Grand Theft Auto who will knock me out and take my gold Jesus cross. That's a wild sentence. It simply doesn't get weirder than a convict claiming that a game, Grand Theft Auto, was mostly responsible for his current state. However, Grand Theft Auto and Take-Two weren't the only ones against whom Richard had filed cases. The list of people that he'd filed lawsuits against included Britney Spears, former President of the United States George W. Bush, former Attorney General of the United States Janet Reno, Martha Stewart, NASCAR driver Jeff Gordon, former Atlanta Falcons quarterback Michael Vick, and Steve Jobs. He's actually filed so many other lawsuits against other businesses and individuals that he's now in the Guinness Book of World Records for filing the most amount of lawsuits. However, upon finding this out, he went and sued the Guinness Book of World Records for publishing his life story without his consent, and he won. Am I going to get sued for this video? Number 4. The Real Pinkerton Detective Agency files a cease and desist letter for Red Dead Redemption 2. This one came not as a result of the Grand Theft Auto games, but for Rockstar's other popular open world game, Red Dead Redemption. The Pinkerton Detective Agency, which has long been a fixture of any media that has to do with the Old West, was also featured heavily on Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. The game's primary antagonists included 2 agents from the Pinkerton Detective Agency, which were comparable to the real-life agency. As a result, they sent a cease and desist letter to Take-Two with regards to their negative depictions in the game. As a result, this time it was actually Take-Two that took them to court rather than them being the ones being sued. Take-Two wanted the court to rule that the Pinkerton Detective Agency's portrayal in the game fell under the fair use for historical accuracy. The case was later actually dropped by Take-Two Interactive after the Pinkerton Consulting Investigation Company withdrew their claims. And before we get to the 5th lawsuit, I want to mention here that a lot of people over the years that have tried to sue Take-Two Interactive / Rockstar Games very quickly realise the absolute juggernaut they're going against. Take-Two Interactive is an absolutely ginormous company, but also they have years of practice in defending themselves against frivolous cases. A lot of the decisions they make within their games are ran through lawyers before the game is published. They have legal teams on speed dial to go through everything that we see in games just to make sure that there is nothing that can be brought against them. But also, a lot of people hold video games different from movies. For example, there's movies that depict things far more graphically than games do, but for some reason a lot of people try to hold games in a different light. But over the years, people are starting to realise that Rockstar Games, and in fact any games developer, are just as equal in their art as filmmakers, as photographers, as painters. Games imitating real life isn't really a case for a lawsuit. And the last court case we're going to talk about in this video is the former president of Rockstar North suing the company for $150 million. This one was quite personal to Rockstar, as one of the most company's valued figures had filed for damages and unpaid royalties to the tune of $150 million. The case came as a result of Leslie Benzies, former president of Rockstar North, alleging that he'd been pushed out of the company. In 2014, about 6 months after the release of Grand Theft Auto 5, Leslie Benzies went on a sabbatical from the company. When he returned back to the business in 2016, he arrived at the offices and was turned away. He was locked out from his emails and other access to documents that he had within the company. It was then around this sort of time that his son was fired from the business, and also some of his other colleagues that were around him in that sort of time period were also fired from the business. Leslie Benzies had been the producer for pretty much every Grand Theft Auto game in existence, and that's why in the credits on GTA 5, he is the first name that comes up at the end of the credit roll. Sam Houser, Dan Houser, Leslie Benzies, and Aaron Garbett were pretty much in charge of every game we've seen to this date. This case was then settled outside of court, with both parties choosing not to disclose the settlement sum. Now, there's 2 theories about this case. A lot of people seem to think that Leslie was paid the $150 million, but at the end of the day, him getting pushed out from the business wouldn't just happen for no reason. He wouldn't have been asked to go on that sabbatical for 2 years, and he wouldn't have been locked out from the business without any due course and reason. Now, because both parties agreed for the settlement figure not to be publicly disclosed, it could mean that Leslie Benzies was paid significantly less than the $150 million, but on the condition that the reasons for him being ousted from the business were not made public. We don't know, but they're just 2 theories. Now, there's been hundreds of other times where people have tried to sue Rockstar Games, everything from the Florida Joker to the hundreds of other cases that we've seen in the past, but none of them are really noteworthy to bring up in this video. But if there's any particular legal cases you want to know more about, drop it in the comments down below. I'll do some research and make a video. Thank you all for watching today's video, and I'll see you all in the next one.